defeated the U.S. earlier today, and tonight we'll cover the Japan-Peru match to see who earns the right to face the Soviets for the gold. And for the first time in the games, we'll take you to the boxing arena for some blistering action, including American heavyweight hopeful Michael Bent.
Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid.
Welcome to primetime coverage of the Goodwill Games. Well, the U.S. women lost to the Soviets today in volleyball after making a valiant attempt to defeat a definitely superior volleyball team. And we're going to have more volleyball action tonight. And Marianne Laughlin, we're also going to be returning to the swimming pool.
That's right, Bob. We'll have tonight one of the most exciting water polo matches of the tournament thus far. It's the United States against Hungary, as the U.S. team looks to better its record and possibly face a strong Soviet team for the gold on Sunday. Also, we'll feature the finals of the men's individual sprints in cycling, as the 1984 U.S. gold medalist Mark Gorski puts his reputation on the line against the best of the East Germans. And we've got a great women's volleyball game, as we told you, between Peru and Japan. All of that in this, our primetime coverage, and of course boxing, which began today at the Olympic Sports Complex Indoor Stadium.
And what a story the boxing has become. I'm sure you've followed the ban on the boxers and the hastily assembled crew. Well, they're in town and they're fighting, and we'll be showing it to you in just a moment. Stay with us. Introduced you to the hastily assembled American boxing team that came here to replace the boxers who had been banned from competing by the Department of Defense. Paul Ryden is now going to have a report to update us on the boxing situation. Here's Paul Ryden.
In many ways, the heart and soul of the American Goodwill Games boxing team could be found in the military. 9 members of the team, including 3 national champions, are in the service. So Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger's 11th hour decision to keep the soldiers home appeared to decimate the U.S. team. But when Coach Roosevelt Sanders brought the first group of boxers into Moscow on Monday, he was far from ready to throw in the towel.
We're welcome. Very glad to be here in Moscow. I think the young men are really prepared to box starting on this Friday. We've trained hard in Colorado Springs. It's unfortunate that several of us couldn't make that trip, but I'm sure that the guys that are here are going to be more than worthy of the task of boxing in a Goodwill game.
On Wednesday, the bleary-eyed replacements arrived at Sheremetyevo Airport. In less than a week, they had gone from spectators to participants.
Well, I was in the house, me and my girlfriend, we was in the house looking at the Goodwill Games, and I said to her, I wonder who they gonna get to represent America in the Goodwill Games. 10 minutes later, I got the call. She didn't believe me, but I was telling her it was true. My trainer came over and he took me down and get my passport.
I was like, you know, kind of startled. I was ecstatic. He asked me, was I prepared for the trip? And I had, you know, had my suitcases there and I was packing already.
And Mr. Fox relayed me the message saying I'm on my way as long as I was willing. And I'm willing.
The last to arrive was 20-year-old Jose Acevedo, who checked in yesterday.
When I was working out, they just called me at the phone in the gym. They told me that I was coming over here.
Acevedo only had time to pack a gym bag and catch a plane that took him from JFK to London to Moscow. The new members of the boxing team are clearly inexperienced. Michael Simon and Isaiah Zamudio are just 17 years old, and none of these guys has ever boxed in international competition. But there is some talent here. 22-year-old Terry Sutherland won a bronze at the 1986 Nationals, and Ernie Chavez of Garden Grove, California, just won the Western box office for the Olympic Festival. As the recently completed Goodwill swimming competition proved, the form charts don't mean much once the games get underway, and most of the new members of the boxing team aren't looking to just do well and go home. They're going for the gold.
Nah, I ain't nervous. For what?
I'm going to win the gold, you know, and I'll be meditating, you know, praying about it, you know, and stuff like that. And I'm going to win because this is my open chance and my opportunity to take the gold home.
My goal is to get the gold medal. That's it.
I'm coming over here to win. That's the reason why they picked me, to win, you know, because I'm a winner.
For the Goodwill Games, I'm Paul Ryden.
One of the boxers you saw in Paul's report is named Juan Jose Acevedo. He lost in a fight earlier today, which you saw if you were with us earlier. He was one of the last to arrive. He was the first to lose for the United States. Another one of the boxers is getting ready to fight right now, though. Let's go to the boxing arena, and here's Don Chevrier.
3 and 8.
Welcome to the Olympic Sports Complex, the site of the boxing venue in 1980 here in the Moscow Olympic Games, and the site here for boxing at the Goodwill Games. There are 21 nations competing, not just the United States and the Soviets. The Americans have set 23 boxers, 2 in each weight class, except super heavyweight. And the question is, how will the U.S. do? Of course, last-minute changes affect the United States team. Let's find out now from the guy working with me. We've seen a lot of boxing, a lot of sports over the years. Paul Horning, how might the U.S. do in this meet?
Well, we hope very well. We're just going to have to see what the substitutes who just arrived here a couple of days ago, how they react to this atmosphere. I will say, Don, I think we've got a great hope in Michael Bent. He is really the star of these 23 U.S. boxers. He's a heavyweight. He's the 84 and 86 national champion, and he is probably the favorite in his division. We're going to see Michael Bent actually later on tonight. He's going to be on the first day action. We're also going to see Arthur Johnson from East St. Louis, Illinois, a tough kid. He's got a good right-left combination, and he is a big hope for Russell Sanders, the U.S. boxing coach, to win a medal. Also in the light middleweight division, we've got 2 young boxers, and I really think they have an opportunity. At least Leslie King from Colorado Springs, she's been here and helped us quite a bit in the last couple of days. And I tell you, she thinks that both boxers, Michael Moore and Marlon Watkins, both have excellent opportunities to win a medal. So we've got 4 kids that really stand out, and hopefully, because of those 9 boxers that couldn't come here from affiliated with the United States Army, I think the replacements, they're raring to go. They're excited. They brought their own food, and they're ready.
Getting ready to go in the flyweight division is Anthony Johnson from East St. Louis, Illinois, representing the United States here, Paul Horning, against an experienced fighter from Hungary, Janos Varadi, who is in the 80 Olympic Games, won a bronze medal, also took a bronze in the 86 World Championships. But Johnson certainly one of the up-and-comers for the United States.
He sure is. He was the 85 and 86 U.S. United States champion, Don, and he is really one of our hopes in this division. He was voted the best fighter in this division in 1986, and he could win the gold. He's got that much talent. He's a double major at the Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, Illinois. He's majoring in child development and broadcasting, so maybe we'll get a chance to chat with him. If he keeps on winning, we'll surely talk to him. I know he's not bad.
Yes. So Johnson now awaits the bell as the countdown goes to it against Janos Varadi of Hungary. And after what happened to him, his first-round elimination of the World Championships against Ayub Khan of Turkey, he is determined to try to avenge himself. We're talking about the young American Johnson here from East St. Louis in these Goodwill Games. And he's got a handful with Varadi, a man with all kinds of experience who will not hesitate in terms of mixing it up. He is not the stiff, formal, Eastern European kind of fighter that we've seen too much of. He's the kind of guy who'll make it interesting.
And he's got a little age on him. He's 25 years old, married, 2 kids. He's a hard puncher, we understand. And he's the 1980 bronze medal winner at the games in Reno last month.
You've got to realize what our young people are up against when they come internationally. They're fighting people who, if there were professional boxing in the East Bloc countries, would be their country's pros. And with the experience, 25, 26 years of age, it's a tough, tough challenge for them. But talent has gotten them through, certainly in Montreal in the Olympics and in Los Angeles at 84, and maybe midterm with this team. Talent's going to come through as well. Johnson showing plenty of that, although he's having a little trouble understanding the style of Varadi at this stage. About midway in the first round, scheduled for 3.
Nice size, 5'7" tall. He's got good reach.
Johnson's hands really loosely held defensively. Seems more preoccupied in taking to the offense and scoring. You saw him miss there with an attempt to the right a minute ago as Varadi tries to mix it inside. Past the halfway mark in the round. Now there's a left thrown by Johnson. A right by Varadi of Hungary. Caught the side of the head of Johnson. Backs him up. Another right throw. He got a piece of that in blocking it. We're down to a little over a minute of ring time remaining in round number 1.
Varadi scoring with that right overhand. And it's open. Janos Varadi. And Johnson scores a couple.
Another one right there, using the right hand, following now with the left hand to send his opponent back. In the final minute of the first round at the Goodwill Games in Moscow, the flyweight competition, the appearance of Arthur Johnson of the United States trying to progress along toward the middle round here as he throws a good chopping right hand, missing with the following left hand. Varadi, good footwork for a European, moving quite quickly and easily around this ring. Out of the clinch he comes with a fast snapping right hand to Johnson. 30 seconds to go now in the round. The referee can add some time for any stoppages, as the timekeeper often does as well. But Johnson looks poised despite his tender years and handling himself very well against Bharati in this first round, Paul, as he moves him around. The Hungarian goes to the body and is given a caution for a punch in the back from the referee, who is from Norway. Ariel Janos is handling this bout. Just less than 10 seconds to go now in the first round as Arthur Johnson battles with Janos Varadi of Hungary. We'll pause at the bell. Ready to go in round 2 in the flyweight division. Young Arthur Johnson just turned 20 in February from East St. Louis, Illinois, in the ring against the veteran from Hungary, Mr. Janos Varadi. He was the 80 Olympic bronze medalist and the 86 world champion bronze medalist. And in the first round, a pretty even round, I thought. Toward the second half of the round, I was impressed with Johnson, Paul Horning, who's got a habit of letting up late in the round. He didn't do it in that first round. A good sign.
Well, he's got the little advantage on a smaller but quicker opponent. Johnson's got the reach, but as you said, he just eases up a little bit, and maybe the quick hands might prove a problem before this is all over with, because the gentleman from Hungary is throwing quite a few more punches.
Yeah, well, Johnson has got that we call sneaky left hook, which he likes to set up by showing him the right. We've seen that on a couple of occasions here, and that's a punch that has gotten a lot of points for him along his young amateur career. If you're watching a young man who is aiming to be at the Olympics 2 years from now and has come a long way to get to Moscow here, trying to come back after a big upset, a hard loss he took in the World Championships when he lost out in the first round to a Turkish fighter. Not as spirited a second round as the first was to this point.
Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson's having a hard time figuring out the style of course of the European. He's more of a stand-up. He's got the reach, as we keep saying. He's got the good left jabs, as you just witnessed there, but a good counter from Janos.
Bharati at 25 is 5 years older than Johnson. With it comes a world of international experience. Of course, the judges will do all the scoring. Bharati slipping there, hanging on to Johnson. The referee can take points away. They look for the scoring area as struck by the white part of the glove. Force of the blow doesn't necessarily matter in amateur boxing. So if you're scoring at home, you try to count the number of punches that land cleanly. And I know it's hard to judge that sometimes. That's why judging entirely is so subjective.
This is the flyweight division. 112-pound limit. A good right by Johnson.
The case of Johnson, who's only 20, a little guy on his way up. Still got some growing to do, perhaps. Blocking many of those blows from Varadi. Not anything getting through in that sequence.
But he's not moving his feet, Don. We've seen Johnson up in Reno. He was much quicker, and he was on the ball, the toes of his feet a little bit more, and he's a little bit more active. Maybe Janos is just a little bit quick for him.
Just confusing him a little bit. They have to watch here if he tails off, as he is wont to do late in a round. We have just about 20 seconds to go in this, the second round here at Moscow. Maybe that loss, that stunning loss in the World Championships, has taught Johnson a lesson to stay with it for a full 3 minutes every round. Ties him up now, tries to go to the body as they work it inside. Just 5 seconds of time showing on the clock in round 2. The flyweights in action here at the inaugural Goodwill Games.
We'll return with more Turner
of the United States. You see here in this exchange in the middle of the ring in the second round against Janos Varadi of Hungary. Certainly holding his own with him, and there's that sneaky left hand he likes to drop in on him.
He's got the reach on Varadi, and he's got to keep him at bay and use that reach and pile up some points. He's got a good right. He follows it with a good right, and if he can connect, he can score some very serious points here.
Round 3 is underway. Johnson and Varadi, the American and the more experienced Hungarian. And this fight is too close to call. The events of this round undoubtedly are going to dictate who wins it and who continues along the trail toward the medals in this flyweight division, 51 kilograms at the Goodwill Games in Moscow. Varadi with that jab, likes to stick and move if he can. Now they get all tangled up here. The referee tolerantly lets that clinch continue and now finally gives a verbal caution to the young American Johnson. Just 20 from East St. Louis, acquitting himself well, though, in his first appearance at the Goodwill Games.
And later on tonight, Michael Bent, the highly regarded heavyweight, will be in action. He's the favorite in his division.
We'll be jumping about 90 pounds up to that one from what we're seeing right now, the flyweight. Johnson flicks the right hand out, a glancing blow, misses with the right again, wants to show him the right, remember. He says, I'll show it to you. Then when you're not expecting it, that sneaky left hook will come in. Try to throw it right there, blocked by the experienced, though, of Varadi. He's been boxing for 7 years, Johnson. Certainly at 20, knows his way around the ring.
Boy, if you got a good left jab, it's so important in international competition, isn't it, Don? If you can keep that popping.
Makes a big difference against these Europeans, especially. You keep coming on you. You got to ward them off with a good jab. Sticks it out there, and Varadi gets turned around. Caution to both fighters from the referee from Norway, and now he lets them continue. Past the halfway mark of the third and final round. Varadi with a good solid right hand there that his coach was pleased with in the corner. Of course, you can't coach from the corner verbally, but the Hungarian coach is someone in the stands, we understand, relaying his advice. So there's always a way around a rule.
Heating up now here in the third round, and we're in the last minute.
Johnson pursuing him, but having trouble getting inside. Throws one in there, though. Well, they tie up once again as we get down to a minute of action remaining in the third and final round. Johnson with Varadi fighting for survival here in the flyweight division.
And hooked him in the back of the head there and got away with it.
Yep, on the break. He's wrestling with him now, hanging on more, the Hungarian is, than he was previously. Johnson wants it open and clean. He can use those long arms. What appears to be a substantial reach advantage. Fires the right out, flicks it in Varadi's face, goes to the body, back to the head. Now the combinations start coming from Arthur Johnson of the United States. Working more effectively here than he has perhaps in the entire bout, Paul.
Well, Johnson is a better fighter, that's clearly, but maybe Janos has thrown a few more punches. They haven't hurt him. They haven't hurt Johnson and all, but as you mentioned, the international competition, it's not the force, it's not the heat, it's how many.
Well, he has put the heat on, certainly Varadi. They had to caution his corner, the coach, for finally talking, as Johnson is not letting up at the end of a round as he was accused of doing earlier. He takes it right down to the wire with his veteran from Hungary, right down to the final bell of the third round here. A couple of seconds tacked on by the referee, and there's the bell. A good third round, I thought, for Arthur Johnson.
Absolutely, and I think he may have won this one.
We shall see with the decision coming up here from the Olympic Sports Complex in Moscow. Yes, Arthur Johnson has won it for the United States, and he has done it in very convincing fashion, convincing all 5 judges, including 3 from East Bloc countries, that he was the winner. And that third round certainly made the difference as Johnson will continue along the flyweight elimination trail. On he goes to the quarterfinals. And Paul Horning is with the winner.
And Arthur Johnson has just advanced with a unanimous 5-0 decision over Janos Varadi of Hungary. And Arthur, congratulations. I know it's been a long trip and you were anxious to get in the ring, but the first one, it's good to get that first one under the belt, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, from the starting off, you know, it's pretty tough. But as you continue to fight, you know, things get easier and you tend to get off a little bit. Today, I was a little, you know...
hesitant.
Yeah. But
well, he was, it looked like he was a little bit smaller. You had to reach his advantage, and it took a while to figure him out. The third round was very decisive.
Right. Third round, you know, I'm in tremendous shape, you know, trained down at the camp. And, you know, usually third round, I try to throw as many punches as I can because third round is what really matters, you know. First two rounds, you know, they matters, but not as much as the third round. So it's important to, you know, really get those hands moving in third.
What's the mood of this United States boxing team right now?
Well, I think they're very fired up. You know, we got a good team, you know. Thing about that Army squad not being able to come down, you know, really, it took something out of us. But the guys they're pumped up now, and you know, sorry they couldn't make it, but you know, they're really pumped up, and I think they're gonna do pretty good.
Congratulations, and we'll have a look a little later on with Michael Bent, the heavyweight. Got a good shot for the gold, and we'll look forward to seeing Arthur later on. Congratulations.
Thank you, Paul Horning. We should explain the breakdown of teams in boxing and just how that works. The United States and the Soviet Union are the only two countries to enter two teams in the boxing competition. U.S. coach Roosevelt Sanders has nicknamed his teams the Doggies and the Leathernecks. He's probably poking a little fun at the Defense Department ban, which Paul Ryden explained a little earlier. So while you'll see boxers from many countries in the competition, you'll see most often the bouts between the U.S. and the USSR, since there are simply more of them than anyone else in the competition. We'll have more boxing coming along a little while tonight. Particularly of interest will be that bout with U.S. heavyweight hopeful Michael Bent. We'll also be going to the swimming pool for diving. So you stay with us and we'll continue our coverage of the 1986 Goodwill Games.
Diving got underway yesterday, and there was superb competition in the women's 3-meter springboard between the East Germans, the Chinese, the Soviets, and the Americans. The American women were shut out, but tonight the men try to earn the first U.S. diving medal of these games. Let's go now to Craig Sager and Jennifer Chandler.
Among the entourage of talented international athletes who are competing before you amid the splendor and pageantry, rivalry and camaraderie of this, the initial Goodwill Games, are many of the greatest divers in the world. In today's event, the men's 3-meter springboard, we have some of the greatest divers in the world, including national champions from 8 countries. Quite a field.
It's a very talented group, and I think it's going to be anybody's contest. American divers Kent Ferguson and Doug Schaefer are both capable of outstanding performances. They have a very different style. Doug is a powerful, strong diver, and Kent is a very graceful, very pretty diver to watch. In terms of divers from other countries and medal contention today, the Soviets and the Chinese are right in there once again, just like in the women's events. Nikolai Drozhin of the Soviet Union, who's the 1985 European champion, has been diving very well, and I expect he'll push the field a good bit. I think the key ingredient today, Craig, is consistency.
There are 3 members of the United States team here representing our country in the Goodwill Games. Dan Watson is one of them.
He sure is. His scores aren't going to count, though, in the end because he's diving at exhibition. Each country is only allowed to use 2 divers in the meet.
But it's a good warm-up for him for the platform coming up. He is a better platform diver anyway.
Right. He feels real relaxed. He said to me before the meet, you better put me on TV because I might win this.
Doug Schaefer is a graduate of UCLA. He won the NCAA championship in this event in 1984.
Doug's been diving very well the first 4 rounds. This round he's doing an inward 1.5 somersaults pike. Degree difficulty 2.1. Considering he still doesn't have his luggage, I think he's doing a pretty good job.
More on that later.
He's going to spin 1.5 times towards the board. That was a really nice dive. He had nice height from the board, nice tight spin. When he lined up, he got a nice clean entry. What you call a rip entry.
7.5 for most of the judges. Now, what's this about his luggage?
It never did come. He was in Sweden competing in the Swedish Cup and then in Austria competing in another competition. And he's been wearing the same pair of jeans and polo shirt for a week.
Representing Australia is Craig Rogerson, 20 years old.
He's doing a back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist. He's only been diving for 6 years. He was a gymnast before he became a diver, and he's really made a nice transition into diving. That was a little bit past vertical, but it was a very clean entry. The rip entries that I was telling you about, people work on them for hours and hours doing lineups, 5 meter and 3 meter. Watch 2 bubbles come up to the side right when he goes in. Oh, we stopped a little bit short of that. What the diver does, when they hit the water, they push their arms down to the side. And that causes them to go through, punches a hole in the water.
And that's your rip entry. And that's what you strive for. One of the divers representing China is Dolian Li.
He's doing an inward 1.5 somersaults pike. His nickname is Spike, so he's a great guy.
Maybe a little bit later,
nice
we'll see Spike do a pike.
That's a really nice dive. Look back from the board just a little bit.
This is the final round of the required dives. They have 5 required dives, and then they will have 6 optionals, a total of 11 dives, whereas the women do 10.
When the optional dives happen, that's when really separate the men from the boys, too. I mean, the required dives are important, but a lot of people tend to take them less seriously than they should. You can build up a nice little margin before you start the optional rounds, and it can be a cushion in case you do miss one of your optional dives.
One of the most popular athletes here in the Soviet Union is Nikolai Drozhin, and he, of course, is one of the favorites also for this event.
He's been diving very well all year. That's really a beautiful dive. He had wonderful height from the board, and that's one thing the judges are really looking for. They're looking for height, they're looking for execution, form, strength. They're looking for a nice entry with no splash.
Great scores, 8.5s and 9s for most of the judges.
Watch how high he goes in the air here. Nice tight tuck and lines up absolutely straight as an arrow. You can't do much better than that.
And now up next is Kent Ferguson from the United States, the 1986 NCAA champion.
Kent's doing a reverse 1.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists, spinning back toward the board 1.5 times. Really nice dive. It was a little past vertical also, but these guys don't throw very much water on the entries. It's really tough.
And looking at the scoreboard, he gets 7.5s and 8s from most of the judges, so a very fine dive for Kent Ferguson.
Watch when he gets to the end of the board, he swings his arm up, wraps his arms across his chest to start the twist, and right there, he's looking right at the water and lining up.
That concludes our 5th round. That concludes the mandatory or compulsory dives, and after 5 rounds, the leader is Nikolai Drozhin of the Soviet Union. In second place, Dolian Li of China. Kent Ferguson of the United States is in 3rd. Doug Schaefer is in 6th. Doug Schaefer, the United States, in 6th place going into the 6th round. As we talk about the optional dives, in practice, do you work more on these optionals or do you work on the required, like work on the basics?
Well, you work very hard on required dives because, as you say, they are basics, and that's very important. Optionals sometimes take a little more work because you have to do lead-ups. You know, you don't walk out on the board one day and do a forward 2.5 with a full twist, which is what he's going to do right now. Wow. Nice dive, though. Really nice dive. See those 2 bubbles come up on either side after he hits the water? That's how you achieve that rip entry.
Let's take a look at that in replay.
He's such a strong diver. He looks at the water, comes around, lines up, just drills it.
Great score, 7.5s and 8s from the judges.
He likes that.
Dolian Li from China was in 2nd place after the first 5 rounds.
Now he's doing an inward 2.5 somersaults pike, degree of difficulty 3.0. 3.5 is the highest degree of difficulty, so that should give you some idea about how difficult this dive is.
Difficult to follow, too.
Yeah, what happened? He spun right out of the picture.
Alexei Kogalov of the Soviet Union, 4th place after the first 4 rounds. Here's a look at the replay. Now you see the dive.
Yeah, see what a nice tight pike he gets into when he lines up. He went a little bit past vertical on that. That's why he got those 6.5.
Alexei Kogolov is 20 years old.
He's doing the same dive, inward 2.5 somersaults pike. I always kind of like being in the place. How that was really nice. See those big bubbles come up on either side? That's why all the water followed him down when he did that dive. It's really kind of nice to follow somebody that's doing the same dive, because see what happens? You get set up for really nice scores.
Excellent scores. 7.5 and 8.
He finished that dive at board level and had plenty of time to look at the water and line up.
Nikolai Drozhin, the leader after the first 5 rounds.
Nikolai's doing the same dive, inward 2.5 somersaults pike.
See if he can do it better than his teammate Kogolov. If he does, he quit a dive.
This first optional round really starts to separate the men from the boys. Now, some watch the scoreboard and some don't, but it's really important to relax and try to get on a roll. Now, he backed off from the board a little bit. He was a little bit too far away from the board, so he didn't have an opportunity to get enough somersault going for him. It's a little short of vertical, so he's not good. 7.5 to do that. See, he leaves it a little short of vertical. It didn't have the time to stretch out.
There's Nikolai Drozhin and his scores. Kent Ferguson is up next from the United States, having a good competition so far.
He's diving very well.
He's 23 years old.
He won the Swedish Cup in 1985. And he just started diving with a new coach, Ron O'Brien, down in Boca Raton, Florida. He said he feels he's getting a really good perspective on diving. A new perspective from Ronnie. That's also a really nice dive. He backed away from the board just a little bit, but you can't do much better than that.
A fine dive for Kent Ferguson.
Watch him get his arms up over his head and throw down as his hips come up and start the somersault. Reaches for the water and lines up. I mean, you know.
And he gets 7.5, 8s from the judges, a couple 8.5s in there as well, so a nice dive for Kent Ferguson. After the 6th round, our leader is Kent Ferguson from the United States. He has taken over first place. Nikolai Drozhin from the Soviet Union is second. And in third place right now is Alexei Kogolov. Doug Schaefer, the USA, is in 5th place. So far, a great competition for the U.S. men. They are in 1st and 5th places.
We'll be getting to more diving in just a little while, too, but we're also in the midst of covering boxing on this Friday night at the Goodwill Games of 1986, and we're about to go back to the boxing arena now for more flyweight action. We're going to pick up action with Don Chevrier in the 2nd round. Before we do, I wanted to tell you about the 2 fighters who are fighting. The first one's name is Satka of Cambodia, also known as Kampuchea, and he's fighting Hamilton Rodrigues of Brazil. Flyweight action. Here's Don Chevrier and Paul Horning.
The Soviet official brings the 2 together for round 2 of this flyweight bout. Satka from Kampuchea against Hamilton Rodrigues of Brazil. And this fighter from Kampuchea, of course, formerly Cambodia. He's just 20, but he's been around, Paul.
He sure has. He's had 120 fights, 116 wins, and only 4 losses. So he has been very, very successful, and he's a big favorite, of course, back home.
Of course, Rodrigues has more experience competing in the World Cup recently. He is from Brazil in the gold and the green. He won the light flyweight bronze medal there. That's 6 pounds lighter than this division, the flyweight division, at 112. So he's moved up to the Goodwill Games competition.
And he's forcing the action. He's coming in. He's got a solid 1-2, good combination. And now Rath comes back.
Rath nailed it with 1 good shot there in the ropes, and Rodrigues turned right around and responded. Going low to the body with the left hand, trying to create something there. Ooh, solid right he threw. He had loaded, and Rath just stood there and said, "Thank you very much. Now I know what day it is." Solid shot from that flyweight fighter from Brazil. About midway now, and this is the 2nd round, scheduled for 3. Rath warding those rights off with the glove, and then a lunging right misses, but Rodrigues goes back to the body. And the right miss by Rath. Rath in the white top. Working inside now. Yes, 3 left hooks landed there quickly in rapid-fire succession by Rodrigues.
And he comes right back and tries that right-hand lead, and he's been hitting.
Again, the force of the blow doesn't matter in the eyes of the judges, or I should say it shouldn't matter. A good solid right and a good following left hand by Rodrigues. And Rath content, more than willing to mix it with him. They're taking the worst of it right now.
And Rath, I think he got stunned a little bit. He backpedaled a little bit, and right away, Rodrigues was right on top. And now a good exchange of punches in the corner, Don.
Mixing it well, he teed on. Rath unloaded with all he had there. Blocked by Rodrigues. Getting down to 30 seconds of action remaining in the second round.
Oh, he's got him.
Looks a little wobbly over there now.
He's hurt in the corner, I think.
He teed off, and there was a standing 8 count. Administered to Rath for his protection. 3 of those in 1 round will end it, but there's not much time for that to happen now with about 21 seconds you see remaining in the second round. But Rath has been stunned by Rodrigues, who goes to work at the corner again on him. Rath almost fighting out of instinct now, gets back to some room toward the other side. He is very wobbly and very shaky, just hanging on.
Watch his right-hand lead coming up here in a minute. He'll throw it at him.
Rodrigues trailed him across the ring and just missed with the right hand, so he'll get a reprieve at the bell to end round 2. Flyweight action from the Goodwill Games in Moscow. The 3rd and final round underway. Satka Rath took an awful pounding in the final 40 seconds or so of that second round from Hamilton Rodrigues of Brazil. Looked very wobbly. The bell gave him a chance to collect himself after a standing 8 count late in the round.
This could be the hardest puncher we've seen so far in this flyweight division. Hamilton Rodrigues. Rath has really got to make a comeback to get back into this match.
While the standing 8 count alone, and he goes in there with a flurry after Rodrigues trying to get something initiated. The standing count won't affect the judges at all, but the sheer volume of punches by Rodrigues in that second round, well, he has to have a pretty good edge here. So as you say, the Cambodian is going to have to pull it all out if he wants to win this one. Rodrigues pursuing him, hit him with a good left there. A little delayed reaction wobble on the part of Rath.
He's got him hurt.
He's got a good... He might have given another standing 8 count there on that blow, but he didn't.
Classy young fighter, this kid. I'll tell you, 110 wins, 5 losses in 115 fights. 22 years old. Hamilton Rodrigues, very classy young flyweight.
From Sao Paulo, Brazil. Good straight left comes in there and nails him. Right, and good counter punching by Rath. I tell you, he's got hard. He may be fighting on instinct now. He's been hurt, but he is responding with less than half the 3rd round to go. Hamilton Rodrigues in the green and gold from Brazil against Satka Rath of Kampuchea, which was formerly the country of Cambodia, a 20-year-old with 120 fights to his credit. But he's got a very tough one here in the Goodwill Games.
Under a minute now to go in the last round. And it's all Rodrigues.
That's the fascinating part, too, of any international competition. All the nations and the styles that contrast so much brought together here in one ring. We'll see them all the next few days here. Rodrigues with the power pursuing his man. And the opponent Rath cautioned about having his head too low. About 30 seconds to go on the final round.
Ooh. Almost. Caught him right on the button. Look at that.
Looping left hand has started. Constantly jabbing, sticking that in the face of his opponent, Rodrigues is. It's very effective for him. He's got the power to back his following punches up. Throws the right hook to start that. Then the other right hand doesn't follow with the left. Sticks it through now at the bell to win the 3rd and final round. As we await the decision.
We'll have the decision, and we'll have more diving in just a moment as coverage continues of the Goodwill Games. Here's the decision on the flyweight bout you just saw. Hamilton Rodrigues was awarded a 5-0 decision over Satka of Cambodia, and Hamilton Rodrigues of Brazil will now move on to fight against American Arthur Johnson. I might mention also, speaking of boxing, that we'll have American heavyweight Michael Bent in action a little later tonight versus Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria. You want to see that one? Michael Bent, one of the medal hopefuls for the United States team. And Marianne Laughlin, we have diving about to come around.
Until we wait for boxing, we're going to be looking at some more diving, the men's 3-meter springboard action from the Olympic Sports Complex. Let's go back to Craig Sager and Jennifer Chandler for the action.
Nikolai Drozhin of the Soviet Union, the leader after 9 rounds. Kent Ferguson of the United States is in 2nd place. Dulian Li of China is in 3rd. Beginning the 10th round, Doug Schaefer of the United States, currently in 5th place.
That was really nice. Reverse 1.5 somersaults with 3.5 twists. That is a lot of dive.
The degree of difficulty on that dive is 3.3. And the scores from the judges are 7.5s and 8s. So excellent dive for Doug Schaefer here in the 10th round.
He's happy about that. That's great. That'll move him up. Swings his arms up, wraps his arms across to twist 3.5 times, and finishes at board level now. Doug is so strong.
Dulian Li from China is currently in 3rd place, but after that excellent dive by Doug Schaefer, he needs to get a good one here, and he does.
It was a nice dive. It was a little bit short of vertical, but Dulian gets such a colossal jump. He goes so high and spins so fast. The Chinese usually have to kick out of their somersaults with their feet at the water and float around. Look how high that is. He's finishing above board level, reaches back, leaves it just a hair short, but nice dive.
7.5s and 8s for most of the judges. What they do is they throw out the top score and the low score from the judges. That kind of takes away any sandbagging or anything the judges may be doing.
Well, I think the judging has been pretty fair today. There have been a little bit on the low side sometimes, and there have been a few birthday presents too, but I think it all comes out in the wash.
Alexei Kogolov from the Soviet Union. He is in 4th place. Another of those that's just ahead of Doug Schaefer.
Boy, that was so nice. He goes in, it's like Moses, water's parted. No splash. That's so great.
That dive had a degree of difficulty of 2.8. He gets 7.5s and 8s from the judges, so a good dive by Alexei Kogolov.
Now, can you see him throw any water here? It looked like he started to go a little bit past vertical, but when it's going that fast and there's absolutely no splash, usually you can tell which way the water's going when something like that happens.
The leader is Nikolai Drozhin of the Soviet Union. This is the 10th round, and he is going to be doing a reverse 2.5.
A lot of pressure on this round. Wow, that was really nice. Such control, really beautiful extension off the board, and then just bucked the entry again.
Now, why did he spray so much water when he hit?
Well, he may not have had the best stretch he could have gotten, but my gosh, he's going to get 9. See, look how high he is above the board. I mean, he may have missed a little bit of a stretch there, but
not much.
No.
An excellent dive, 8.5s to 9s for Nikolai Drozhin, so he will increase his lead. Unless Kent Ferguson, who is up next in the United States, can get 9s or 10s on this one. But an excellent drive by our leader, Nikolai Drozhin, and Kent Ferguson on the board now watching the scoreboard.
Kent's doing a reverse 1.5 somersaults with 2.5 twists, and, you know, it's an interesting spot to be in. When somebody goes before you and gets 9s, 9.5, it can either pump you up and make you really go for it, or it can distract your concentration a little bit. No, I think Kent's a good competitor.
Looked to me after they saw those scores, he kind of just took a deep breath and said...
It made him mad, I hope. Yeah. It's a really nice dive. Now, see, that's so wonderful when a competitor can rise to the occasion. When he's under pressure like that, there's a coach.
Mike Ferdinand watching.
Swings his arms up and starts to twist really high when he finishes. He's got all the time in the world. Look at the water and line up.
And he gets 8s.5 from the judges, so a great dive that time by Kent Ferguson. And Kent Ferguson remains in 2nd place behind Nikolai Drozhin as we conclude the 10th round. Doug Schaefer from the United States is in 5th place going to this final round. We mentioned he needed to make up 20 points to get into the standings for a medal. He is currently 19 points behind Dulian Li. of China. So Doug Schaefer needs to have an excellent dive right here.
He's doing an inward 2.5 somersaults pike. What he wants to do is, after he presses his arms up and down, he's going to swing his arms up over his head, throw the somersault down toward the board as his hips come up. Doug's biggest concern will be stopping the somersault. Oh, that was really nice. He went a little bit past vertical, but that was a really nice dive.
And there's Wendy Weiland.
And Scott Rich, one of the coaches.
Rooting for their fellow Americans. And he gets 7.5 sevens from the judges. He gets 63.90 points total. So he needs to have a little help. He needs to have Do Lian Lee miss his next dive. And what Lee is going to be doing is a reverse 1.5 with 2.5 twists.
He gets unbelievably high. He gets an unbelievable jump off the board. He finishes the dive very nicely. Very nice dive.
And Doug Schaefer isn't the only one that's interested in what Do Lian Lee gets as a score. He got 6.5 sevens. But also Kent Ferguson of the United States, who is just 8 points ahead of Do Lian Lee as we continue this 11th and final round. Alexei Kogolov also in the running for a medal, currently in 4th place.
He's doing the same dive that Do Lian Lee did. Those guys make this look so easy. That was really a very nice dive. He swung his arms up. You're going to go in the direction your arms are pointing when you leave the board. This guy is pointing absolutely at the moon. That's where he went. Finishes the dive so high, just drills it on the end.
An excellent scoring for the judges, 7.5 and 8. So Alexei Kogolov putting the pressure on Do Lian Lee and also putting it on Kent Ferguson of the United States. Our two leaders are now going to conclude this final round. Nikolai Drozhin, the leader. He and Kent Ferguson are doing the same dive to conclude the performances.
Well, you asked me what dive you do last, and Kent.
You can judge yourself who does it better of the two. That was Nikolai Drozhin. It's going to be tough to beat that.
He had a little bit of problem with that on the end. He didn't have enough somersault, and it was a little bit short of vertical. But it'll be interesting to see what scores he gets.
He gets 7.5 for the judges.
Well, if I were Ken, I think I'd be feeling like I was sitting in the catbird seat. This is his favorite dive. You asked about what dives you saved until last. Why do you do that? Well, in Kent's case, this is his favorite dive. He's just absolutely set up right now.
He goes in 10 points behind Nikolai Drozhin.
10 points, nothing. That's no problem.
But if he doesn't hit this dive, he could drop out of the medal standings completely. That's how close our standings are right now as we watch Kent Ferguson in his final dive of the competition.
Wonderful dive. Really under control the entire time. A lot of height. Beautiful entry.
And Kent
He's
Ferguson
feeling pretty good. All right.
Gets 7.5, 8 from the judges. It is not going to be enough to overtake Nikolai Drozhin, but still an excellent performance for Kent Ferguson of the United States, who gives the USA its first medal in the competition in diving, a silver medal for Kent Ferguson, and he is now with Jennifer Chandler.
Congratulations, Ken, on your second-place finish. The Goodwill Games is the start of a brand-new world-class tradition. How do you feel about your silver medal?
I'm very happy with it. I felt like I put together a great list, and I'm real satisfied.
You only had 19 points going into the last dive, and you were following Nikolai doing the same dive. What was going through your mind?
Well, actually, I didn't know that I was 19 points down. I just tried to keep my head out of everybody else's diving. And so I knew he had the same last dive that I did, and I kind of liked that idea because I felt like he could set me up and I could do a better one.
World Championship trials are coming up real soon. This is a real nice warm-up for you. What are you going to do between now and then?
Definitely a good warm-up. I'm going to go back home and get over the jet lag and get back into the training mode again and get ready for World Trials.
Well, congratulations again. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
The silver medal in the men's springboard to Kent Ferguson of the United States. The gold goes to Nikolai Drozhin of the Soviet Union. Do Lian Lee of China gets the bronze. Alexei Kogolov of the Soviet Union was in 4th place. And Doug Schaefer of the United States finishes 5th. Still ahead, the platform competition for both the women and the men.
Tonight's the beginning of a great weekend of coverage of the Goodwill Games on the 1986 broadcast here from Moscow. Let's take a look at what's going to come up tomorrow. We have a full menu. First of all, we will be getting underway with women's volleyball, the gold medal game between the Soviet Union and Peru. Yachting begins. Yachting is taking place in Tallinn, another federation of the Soviet Union. Ted Turner will be commenting on the yachting, by the way. Boxing will continue tomorrow. Another activity tomorrow in the Goodwill Games. Women's diving moves to the 10-meter platform with Wendy Weiland, Michelle Mitchell representing the United States. Wrestling starts tomorrow, and also tennis with one of the young men for the U.S. tennis team by the name of Cool Hand Luke Jensen performing, so that should be good. And right now, we have a heavyweight boxing match for you that you do not want to miss. This is the man who decisioned the Soviet champion, Alexander Yagubkin, at the World Championships. It's Michael Bent. He is ready to go into action, and we're going now to the indoor stadium at the Olympic Sports Complex, and here's Don Chevrier and Paul Hornig.
Michael Bent in the ring against Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria. First heavyweight test for both these fighters in the Goodwill Games here in Moscow, and a couple of men who'd like to move on from the bronze medals they shared, Paul Hornig, at the 86 World Championships. Of course, semifinal losers don't go on to settle third place, so two men get the bronze as they did there. And we'll see contrasting styles, but a lot of power both ways from these big men.
Well, Michael Bent, as we see, goes over and exchanges, gives the American flag. I tell you, the 84-86 United States national champions, we've been saying all day long, and for the last week, this young man has the best chance for the gold. At least everyone seems to think so. Roosevelt Saunders in his corner with high hopes for Michael Bent, and here we go.
He's on his way against the Bulgarian, Svilen Rusinov. And what he likes to do is go to the body early and establish something and pound away. He tends to throw a lot of first-round punches and has a tendency to maybe lay back a little bit after that once he establishes something. But there's one to the body with the right hand. But for a few moments at least, Paul, it'll be a matter of sorting out this style of the Eastern Bloc boxer from Bulgaria. Quite upright, usually coming on, but right now in retreat as Michael works him around the ring. Throws the good jab out. Pretty quick jab for a big man, too, flying in the face of the Bulgarian boxer. Michael Bent, born in London, England, at 6 months of age, came to the United States as dual citizenship. Lives in Cambria Heights, New York, where his dad won, of all things, $2 million in the lottery.
And he still's got his job with the New York City Transit Authority. More power to him.
Life hasn't changed that much, but maybe it's a little bit more comfortable for the Bent family.
I would imagine. $2 million. Not a bad lick.
Well, here's a guy with a chance that he goes on to professional boxing in the future. Might get $2 million or more as a heavyweight, Michael Bent. The referee is from the Soviet Union, Dadiev. He's not interfering too much in this first round, which is just about halfway through now here in the Olympic Sports Complex in Moscow. And Bent against the big Bulgarian, giving a good account of himself. He continues to back his man around the ring. You can't do much when you're backing up. You got to come forward all of a sudden, and when he does, Bent lashes out with a good left hand.
Heavyweights up to 201 pounds. Super heavyweights over 201 pounds.
Rusinov looks a little wary of Bent right now, as again the jab comes softly in the face of the Bulgarian boxer.
He's definitely on his bicycle.
Snaps the left hook out to him. Bent looking very impressive in the first round. Very much in command here. Works into the corner. Tried the combination, and it was blocked by Rusinov. They're back now toward the center of the ring. Caution from the referee for a low head. About a minute to go in the first round as the Bulgarian goes to the body of Bent. Bent, in many ways, reminds me of Tyrell Biggs, perhaps even more aggressive than Biggs was as an amateur.
Even looks a little like him, doesn't he?
He does. Good resemblance there. Of course, Tyrell from Philadelphia, and now Michael Biggs, Bent from Cambria Heights, New York.
Well, we had Juan Acevedo losing in the flyweight match. We had Arthur Johnson winning his match, so we're 1-1 on the first day of competition, and Michael Bent looking to move on to the semis.
Off to a good start of the first round against a tough customer with world championship experience, along with him in Reno. Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria. He's moved up from a light heavyweight, the Bulgaria. That's where he fought last year. just couldn't keep that weight down and had to go up a notch. And Bent, of course, just getting more seasoning, coming along. Round one here. Yeah,
classic
looking
American
good.
style. He looks good. He's confident.
There's
Got
the bell. Round one.
On these toes, he looks great.
Round two, Michael Bent underway against Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria. Bent took it to him in the first round, forced the Bulgarian to back up much of the round, and that pattern continues, Paul Horning, here into round two.
Well, Bent looks good. He's confident. I'm sure he doesn't want to let up. He's been accused of kind of, as you said in the first round, Don, of easing up sometimes when he gets ahead and letting his opponent off the hook somewhat.
He'll go from bout to bout, a big win over Yagubkin of the Soviet Union, then a loss to a light-hitting boxer from the Netherlands in his semifinal bout. So he's got to maintain some kind of consistency, not just bout for bout, but in terms of round for round right now, and he appears to be doing just that.
Yagubkin, of course, one of the Russian champions, and he's split 2 matches with him.
If Bent wins this, he will go on to beat a Soviet opponent in the next round here in the heavyweight ranks, so the interest intensifies in this boxing competition. And the crowd getting into this a little bit more. Much of the time we have felt the spectators were like people at a public library, suddenly startled when a fight broke out. But they are vocal here, perhaps to the fluid style of Michael Bent and the action he's taking to the Bulgarian. They're reacting to it accordingly.
He's just got that good natural athletic ability, Don. You can just tell it. He moves smoothly. He's on the balls of his feet. He's on his toes. He moves just like a cat.
I tell you, I like the looks of him with that jab. Now the hook, a good hook opened up to the face of Rusinov and caught him off guard. Rusinov coming on now, but Biggs for starting and stopping, going backward and coming forward again, has got his man totally confused here in the second round, past the halfway mark. The jab has been effective. The hook to open it up, and the right hand, the short chopping right and the straight right have gotten through too. They did not meet at the World Championships in Reno, as we say, both winding up as bronze medalists, losing their semifinal bout. But Bent on his way to winning here, it would appear in the second round, as he snaps the chopping right out again, and the left.
And folks, you might not know it, but there's 7,000 or 8,000 people here at this tremendous sports complex. This is a quiet Russian crowd, isn't it? They don't get upset too much. They're not as vociferous as our group in the United States. They let you know about it.
Do not disturb sign on their vocal cords. A different atmosphere in many ways here, the capital of the Soviet Union. The referee is from the Soviet Union, Vladimir Dadiev. Interjecting there momentarily with now 30 seconds to go in the second round. Bent with a chopping right hand. That was felt by Rusinov. Rusinov now fighting perhaps a little hurt out of instinct coming forward. Bent challenging with a combination left and right. Bent scoring very well there. Rusinov continues to press forward, however.
Rusinov knows he's behind. He's got to come on strong, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's kind of coming back a little bit.
And Bent maybe getting a little tired now, really showing no signs of letting up late in this round. Just seconds left in the second round, and like the first, it's been a good 3 minutes of boxing for Michael Bent of the United States. And so, Paul Horning, you have to like what you've seen from Mr. Bent. The Americans worrying about new heavyweights coming up, and in this situation, looks like they got a good one.
They sure do. Michael Bent, of course, is, we've been promoting all week. He is our best hope for the gold. Let's put it that way. Yagubkin has got a bad hand, is not the best of the Russian heavyweights. We just saw a couple of Russian heavyweights that I think Michael Bent will probably be the favorite against. And if he can get by today, he's got a very, very good shot at the gold.
Well, the two we saw, while hard hitters, look like absolute plotters compared to Michael Bent, who is a big man, still moves around the ring and cuts it off beautifully on his opponent.
He's got great athletic ability, and he's got not only a good chance to win here. He's young. He's only 20 years old, and he's got a great future in boxing.
And his future now may get a little brighter as his third round comes along as he attempts to steal the victory from Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria, who is game and has stayed with him. He's been stuck a couple of times, but no question as to the number of blows thrown by Bent in this round.
He's got the best left jab we've seen all night, including 8 flyweight fights, and much quicker men. But I tell you, Bent's got a great left jab.
And a good hook, a good right, a chopping right, a good variety of punches, and they come in fast combinations. His quick hands, that has been the undoing of Rusinov, who's been stymied by the quickness of Bent for a big man. And a caution to the corner where Roosevelt Sanders, the American head coach, has been saying something to Bent. That's a no-no in amateur boxing.
Uh-oh.
He might have felt that was a little bit low, Rusinov, as he backs away for a moment. Bent with 2 good rounds behind him. Now let's see if this oft-times problem of his of just easing up a little bit in the final round happens. No real sign of it yet as he continues to come at him.
Scored with a couple of good rights there.
In many previous fights, he has thrown the majority of his punches in the first couple of rounds. Laying back in the third, but now Rusinov willing to mix it with him.
Hey, Rusinov just keeps pounding those hands. He keeps swinging. He's not stopping.
And so Bent has no choice but to continue with the volume of punches he threw in the first couple of rounds. Midway in this, the third and final round in Moscow in the heavyweight division, Michael Bent trying to get on to the next round of competition, the semifinals for the United States, and he'll face a Soviet if and when he gets there. But first, Mr. Rusinov has to be taken care of.
And we'll be back here tomorrow night with some great fights, great matches.
More boxing coming up on Sunday from the Goodwill Games. This competition is off and flying here in Moscow. Well, now just a minute to go in the third round. Rusinov looking a little arm weary. Bent goes back to that body again. Fires the jab out, comes up short, throws a chopping right hand. That got through to the head of Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria. So Rusinov, a former light heavy, is up with the big boys now and in against a good one as Bent slugs it out with him. Fires the jab again, the following chopping right hand that has been so effective throughout this bout.
Rusinov was pushing the action to start his third round. He's completely beat now. His arms are heavy, and he's weary.
And he's against the ropes, and the referee gives him a little break there. He comes right back out, just 20 seconds left in the third and final round, but he is arm weary and trying to hang on as best he can against Michael Bent, who's been extremely impressive tonight. The left, the right by Bent. Flicks the left jab out again, dances way through, fires a quick left that rocks him for a moment there. He got to the final few seconds now, and Bent is not letting up. He's taking it all the way to the final bell in Moscow.
Good fight.
Getting the tape all unraveled and the gloves gone for good for this night. Expecting to have won a decision here over Svilen Rusinov of Bulgaria and Paul Horning. There seems little doubt from where we sit that he did earn a 3-round decision.
And we take another look, and he was in control all the way. Rusinov tried to put a little pressure on the beginning of the third round, but he ran out of gas. Michael Bent, I think, will move on.
He's trying to become the second American to win tonight. The first had tough luck. Juan Acevedo just off the plane 24 hours ago, a last-minute substitute, fought with a lot of heart. And he was very game, and he just couldn't handle a tough one from North Korea.
And Arthur Johnson moved on, so we're 1-1, hoping to be 2-1 after the first day of competition, depending on this outcome, and I think it'll be Bent.
Both men waiting in the center of the ring with the Soviet referee, Vladimir Dadiev, for the announcement here in Moscow. This crowd now, which has been very sparse and spread throughout this huge complex of 22,000, all moves down toward ringside now to find out who's the winner of this final bout of the evening here on the opening day of boxing at the Goodwill Games. The 5 judges at ringside, international panel decides it. The referee has no say in the outcome. He is holding the hands of both fighters, ready to lift the victors.
And the longer it takes, the more nervous these boxers get, especially the winner.
No longer be nervous, Michael, because you're the winner.
So Michael Bent
our leading contender on a 3-2.
Yeah, a little closer. In fact, a lot closer than I would have thought. That means 3 of the 5 judges decided Bent was the winner, but 2 did not. And the breakdown of judging shows a North Korean judge, a Danish judge, 1 from Ireland, 1 from East Germany, and 1 from West Germany. So there's where the 2 probably went from the Eastern Bloc countries against Michael Bent, but he did pull out a win. It looked to be, certainly from where we sat, more impressive than the judges' scoring turned out to be. But Bent wins it. He'll go on to the next round of heavyweight competition.
Well, Michael, congratulations. The only thing really surprised me, we thought you were in control all the way. The judges gave you a 3-2 decision. Didn't you think you were in a little bit better control than that?
I thought I did, but when you're in the ring, it's always hard to tell when it's a decision. So I always try to, you know, not go the full 3 rounds. But I'm pretty satisfied. I'm not satisfied as I should be, but I'm pretty satisfied.
Well, you look good. You look agile, you look athletic, and you were on your toes, and you delivered some good blows.
Well, the first one's always the toughest. I didn't think I was that impressive, but, you know, you guys are spectators.
That's right.
So you should know.
In other words, you're saying you can get better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I said, first one's always the toughest. Second one, I'll look much, much better.
Okay, good. The Russians are coming up, and we'll be right here watching you, Mike.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will have more boxing action for you later in our primetime coverage of the Goodwill Games, but right now, let's turn to water polo. The United States team has defeated the Netherlands and Greece, and now move on to a critical 3-game set. First up, Hungary. With a call from Lenin Central Stadium, let's go to Chris Dorse and John Neighbor.
We're at the announce position overlooking the swimming pool here at the Lenin Central Sports Stadium. We're getting ready for water polo action between the United States and the team from Hungary. Both teams very good. The United States perhaps faring a little bit more poorly than we anticipated, and the team from Hungary a lot better.
Actually, the surprise of the tournament has been the Hungarian team, John. They've got 3 players to watch today. Number 10, their captain, István Kis, has been scoring well. He's got a tremendous outside shot. Number 4, Zsolt Petavari. He's a playmaker. He's always around the ball. Whether it's offensively or defensively, he'll be there. Number 11, István Doci, comes off the bench. He doesn't start for them, but he comes off the bench usually in the second half and is a tremendous offensive catalyst for him.
Now, the United States team, although not a single player is at the top of the scoring charts, they have a very well-rounded offense.
Absolutely. They've got a very balanced scoring attack. They've got 4 guys in the top 10, Terry Schroeder and James Bergeson with 4 goals each, Kevin Robertson, Peter Campbell with 3 each. Look for Schroeder to be a big force today at 2 meters. The U.S. is going to have to muscle the ball there. Terry's one of the best in the world at that. Look for him not only to score, but also to draw ejections. That's where his value really lies for the U.S. Kevin Robertson is a big breakaway threat. They'll be looking to get a lot of counterattack opportunities from him today.
So with a round-robin tournament, every match is important towards the possible gold medal. Let's get right to the action. We're at 2:35 remaining in the first period of play, the water polo match between Hungary and the United States. The score is 1-0 in favor of the team from Hungary. They scored on a penalty shot as a result of a major foul inside 4 meters. And Craig Wilson taking a remarkable gamble, coming way out of the cage to help tip that pass away.
Setting for the Hungarians is that Dotzi. We mentioned he being an offensive spark plug coming off the bench, but he's beaten out of the backcourt by Mike Evans. We'll see if the U.S. can capitalize.
Robertson passing to Burke. The weather is cold. Sky is overcast. Everyone in the stands with rain gear on. Foul immediately called. Out back, bounce shot, that passed away.
That was a quick shot by Schroeder.
So Kuna tipped it off. Americans get the ball again. America in blue, Hungarians in white.
You're right, John. Kuna playing a surprisingly good game for the Hungarians.
Lob into the cage. Schroeder, the big man, tries to get it by. It's no good. Out of bounds. White's ball.
Well, the U.S. They certainly get plenty of opportunities. I think later in the game, those will start to fall, John.
We've seen a remarkably small number of expulsions. In fact, we haven't seen any at this point in the game. That's Doshi from Hungary with the ball. Nice elbow back here. Offensive foul. America's ball.
And once again, the Europeans are taking the younger American players to the hoop. That's Charlie Harris. It's his first international trip, but he's played very well. Even scored a couple goals yesterday.
Pass down to Robertson. No Americans set up on offense yet. Foul called.
You know what the U.S. isn't doing, John? They're not they're not exploding out of that counterattack. They're swimming down, they're beating their men down, but the U.S. is known for a tremendous surge on the counterattack. That hasn't been shown at this game so far.
So America's speed not in evidence. Jody Campbell setting up the 2-meter position shot, no good.
I think that might have been an ill-advised shot by Mike Evans. The U.S. has got to get out of this run-and-gun game and establish their set offense. They've got two of the best 2-meter men in the world.
Coming down, Imre Toth, the 23-year-old out of Hungary, swimming all alone towards the cage.
Terry Schroeder playing defense on him. Looks like he took one in the chops that time.
Sure did. Sport of water polo with a very aggressive reputation. Six-on-six play. Mike Evans, Willard. Left his man wide open. The goalie coming out expecting the pass into the cage. Imre Toth scores for Hungary with 41 seconds remaining on the clock.
That was just Craig trying to prevent the pass into 2 meters. And the Hungarian alertly putting the ball up. I don't know what Craig was thinking that time, but he usually you try to bait that pass. The pass went, the goal went cross cage.
So the score now, Hungary 2, the United States 0. Dire predictions ahead if the United States lose this game.
Well, John, it's a cold day, and the U.S. has a tendency to come out shooting coldly, playing a little less in their capabilities. I think you'll see them get back into the game later on.
33 seconds remaining in this first period of play. The Americans forcing themselves into the hole. Ball stolen away by Peter Schultz.
Well, that was just a bad pass. Schultz was right in front of the 2-meter man, and Charlie must not have seen him. That was real unfortunate.
With 12 seconds remaining in this first period of play, we can expect a shot put up very quickly. Craig Wilson in the cage knows it's coming.
That's Quiche.
Thrown out of bounds intentionally with 1 second remaining to play. So we're going to see that the end of the first period of play. The score, Hungary 2, the United States 0. Hope you're enjoying the water polo. We want to remind you, coming up tonight, we have wrestling. The United States and Bulgaria, and the United States with a very strong wrestling team. You don't want to miss that one. And cycling, the men's sprint finals being held today will have coverage with includes the cycling of American Mark Gorski in a very strong East German field. So stay with us. We have a lot more coming your way on our coverage of 1986 Goodwill Games. Right now, though, let's go back to John Neighbor and water polo. We're getting ready for the second period of play in this water polo tournament between the United States and Hungary. The score now a 2-0 in favor of Hungary. Those scores coming from the penalty shot and a shot that took the goalie completely unawares. So the score 2-0. The Hungarian team favored, not favored to win this game beforehand, but certainly looking very strong at this point. Terry Schroeder playing the hole for the United States, and Hungary wins the sprint. Ball goes right back to Istvan Quiche, the 28-year-old. He's a 214-pounder.
Little guy.
So the United States, they're playing a little bit hurried on offense, and the cold weather being a factor on defense, perhaps.
Hungarians have a unique team. The last two 2-meter men they've had have been their sprinters. Varadi setting up right now. He just sprinted for the ball. That's unique.
Okay, 2 fouls on the hole man. Shot taken, blocked down by Craig Wilson.
Nice stop on a cross cage shot. That was coming with some pretty good heat by Schmidt.
35 seconds on the shot clock. Kevin Robertson having the ball. And the first ejection of this game.
Now there's an ejection. That was the first counterattack, John, where the U.S. really looked like they were putting their heart into it. As number 13, Udvari, ejected for 45 seconds. Let's see if the United States can capitalize on their 6-on-5.
They got their southpaw over on the left side. Alan Bouchouar. Shot in and good.
Bingo, Bergeson.
Shot taken by James Bergeson, 25-year-old out of Newport Beach, California. Most of the American squad train in California.
Bergie's got a tremendously quick shot. Watch this. Boom.
Upper corner. one of the shooter's favorite objectives here. So Ferguson brings the score 2-1. America behind. Team substitutions allowed only after a score or at the end of a quarter.
So Schroeder comes out. Jody Campbell comes in. Campbell, one of the better shooters out of 2 meters for the U.S. Look for him to also play prime 2-meter defense as well. He's one of the best defenders on the team as well.
A little bit of struggle going on in the hole. Peter Campbell defending against Istvan Doshi.
That's an offensive foul called on the Hungarians, John.
Push away. The American counterattack swimming down. Long pass. Long pass over to Kevin Robertson, the 27-year-old out of Newport. He's the senior member on the national team. He's been on the team longer than anyone.
Well, he came in with me, John, back in 1977. He's been there a long time.
So the driver's now coming in for a possible opening. Passed it away. Retrieved by Campbell.
That pass was close to one of the Hungarian defenders.
Shot taken.
That's Jody Campbell. The shot went a little high.
With 5 seconds remaining on the shot clock, that shot took place. Long pass. Man wide open. Istvan Keith swimming towards the cage. Rears back, shoots underneath the goalie's arm, and it's good.
That's a nice move by Kish. There's a little mix-up on the U.S. defense there. Alan Muchwar finally caught up with him, but Kish has got a great power move to keep Muchwar going in one direction. Rear up, fake a couple times, and slam it near side.
So the score 3-1. Hungary playing a very tough, aggressive game here in the first half. The Americans perhaps a little slow getting started. Chris Dorst, what would you tell them if you were their coach?
Well, the U.S. is the kind of team that, especially against the Hungarians, are going to come back in the second half. They've got the team speed. They've got the physical conditioning. The Hungarians are obviously going to tire. It's a question of making the most of the opportunities they get, John. I think as long as they, they have good concerted opportunities and put the ball in the cage when they can, when they've got good shots. I don't think Bill Barnett's worried right now.
Terry Schroeder setting 2-meter position. Now the driver breaks to the middle. Pass, blocked, and stolen.
They can't afford to get sloppy like that, John.
With a strong man like Terry Schroeder in the hole, the Hungarians can almost expect the pass to come into the hole.
And that's why they're playing a drop-back defense on us, John.
Four minutes, 19 seconds remaining in the second period of play. Score 3-1 Hungary.
This is good defense. The shot clock's down under 10 now. It's down to 6 before they got their first foul. That's tremendous defense.
Shot taken, Craig Wilson.
That was a very nice shot and a very nice stop. Quick release on that shot.
And now Terry Schroeder alone with his man in front of the cage. He's going to try to muscle it in. Draws the foul. Americans not set up on offense yet.
There's Jody Campbell moving to 2 meters. There's a bad pass right to the goalie.
Peter Kuna, the goalie for the Hungarian team, playing very well in this game. Americans setting up on defense. America's in the blue. Hungary's in the white. Imritov passes the ball in. Craig Wilson comes down to the cage.
Beautiful. While Fitzgerald's waiting to decide which kind of shot he's going to make, Wilson took a couple big strokes and knocked the ball away.
Craig Wilson, 6 feet 4.5 inches, 6 feet 5 inches, a tall man, very fast on the reflexes.
Of course, he got burned on that same kind of move just last quarter, so I guess he's taking one back for that.
There's your switch on defenders. Schroeder still in the hole. The goalie coming out on Schroeder. Lob pass in, blocked. Goalie saw it coming there. The Americans trying to learn how to take advantage of that goalie.
I think Kevin might have telegraphed that a little, but that's the kind of thing they've got to do to force the goalie to stay back.
Lob pass just tipped away by the goalie. Peter Kuna. 2 minutes, 38 seconds in the second period of play. Hungarians lead the United States 3-1. Foul called. Sava Machados playing the 2-meter spot. Rear back, tipped over the cage.
That was a tough shot for Craig to block. The shot came off James Bergeson and sort of floated in. It looked like it was actually headed toward the corner. Real tough to react twice to a shot like that. Backhand.
No good. Wilson blocks another one.
That was a pretty shot by Fitzgelli. He's being well guarded by Peter Campbell. They're just getting off some very good shots.
Long pass downfield. Campbell with the ball. Lobbing it across to Robertson. Robertson trying to make the swim in.
And there's Terry Schroeder setting at 2 meters now.
Oh, and an ejection.
Yeah, that ejection was on Alan Mutuar. He had front water on his man, Sandor Toth. And Toth was trying a little too hard to get around it.
Now the Americans with a 6-5 advantage, trying to convert this into a point.
Well, they're 1 for 1 on 6-on-5 now. 2 for 2. That's Peter Campbell putting that one away. That was a very pretty pass, too, coming from Kevin Robertson.
Two Campbell brothers working well in this tournament.
Actually, they call them the Campbell triplets with Jody Campbell. See, there it is. Boom.
Up and at him, the score is 2-3. Hungary still leading. The United States coming back strong. We have 1 minute 47 seconds in the first half. The United States coming out a little bit slow in the first period. So far, all ejections have been against the Hungarian team. The goals coming as a result of the power play advantage. Arpad Gaspar with the ball, passes it out. Hungarian squad, very strong water polo players in the past. Their heritage here in the sport is remarkable. Ball underwater, white ball. Shot taken, and the goalie was out of position. Greg Wilson way out of position on that technical foul. The Americans took the ball and put it underwater.
That can only be called unfortunate. The referee gave them the ball right back on the underwater, and Craig was just caught out of position. What he was doing is the U.S. was starting to counterattack. He was going to swim out and put the ball into play, John. He was halfway out there, and the referee from the West Germany, that's Mr. Blahn on the far side, called correctly that the ball had been put underwater. And Craig was 5 yards away from where he should have been. That is just unfortunate. That's a bad break.
Score 4-2. Hungary with the ball. Hungary with the lead. America with the ball. 1 minute 9 seconds remaining in the first half.
Well, you know, that's 2 open goal scores that the Hungarians have had. That's very unusual. Long pass shot over to Mike Evans.
The officials called a foul as it stays in Hungary's possession.
It looks like the Hungarians have a 4-on-3 man advantage down at the other end.
Once again, all alone, Istvan Kish coming in. Blocked away, blocked and stolen. The United States takes control of the ball with 38 seconds remaining in the period.
That's fortunate for the U.S., John. Normally, the Hungarians are the best in the world at converting those.
Mike Evans with the ball. He's an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints out of Utah. He swam at Irvine, played under a fine water polo program there.
Yes, number 10, Istvan Kish gets ejected. That was Johnny Vargas he was guarding. Johnny was probably trying to drive, and Istvan said, hey, this guy's smaller than me. I can hang on to him. But he got caught.
Istvan Kish looks like that's the third man-up opportunity for the United States.
Well, with 12 seconds left in the quarter, it'd be great to have them go in with just 1 goal down.
7 seconds on the clock. Shot's got to come. Shot taken, blocked down, recovery, come back, no good. There's the end of the first half. The score, the United States 2, Hungary 4.
Doug Burke has been a member of the U.S. national water polo team for 9 years now. He was a member of the '84 silver medal U.S. Olympic team, and by the way, happens to be married to Candy Costi, the '84 gold medalist in synchronized swimming. Here's our Goodwill profile.
I feel the the best thing that ever happened to me in life was when I met Candy. She's really creative. She's got a great sense of humor. She never gets down. I mean, she always keeps putting forward, saying, come on, we're going to keep on going. And she never lets you stop doing what you started out to do. She just is always up and always ready to go.
Can you look at some of this stuff before I send it?
When we got married and when we were in training for the 84 Olympics, I started baking this loaf of bread up. And Candy would come down once in a while and say, this is a great loaf of bread, let's make it some more. So we'd make it. She's got this loaf of bread, and she's starting the idea of, like, there's a lot of people that like this, and I've been doing about 60 loaves a week in our apartment. Why don't we take it to a commercial sense? And I was like, that's a great idea, Candy. I like that.
Well, I'll circle all the type changes in green. Just this, like this type could be changed. We were going to change the words on that.
Right.
Send this to him and code these colors.
We want to change this too and clean this up, right?
They're
done.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
They're done, for sure. Doug and I are very fortunate to have the business relationship that we do, in that Doug is a financial person. He's a numbers guy, and I don't mean a bean counter, but he knows his numbers, and he thinks of things in a very logical manner. Where he's an ace, a wizard in a business meeting, I'm better over the phone or just introducing myself to someone. I am very kind of free-spirited and creative in my thinking. So if I get the idea rolling, he'll keep the engine going, which is great. Good?
You need strength, and so I think you need to get that conditioning in the weight room, specifically because in the water you don't have enough resistance that you're going to need when people are hanging on you and grabbing your wrist and pushing you back and forth. You need that quick burst of speed, but you also need the endurance to make a game that's 4 7-minute quarters.
When we work out together, I think it makes it a lot more interesting for me. It also pushes me. I don't know if I push him, but he really pushes me to work out harder. And so being with someone who wants to stay in shape, it's important to him. It makes it important to me. It helps me maintain that level. And of course, with him still playing water polo, I feel very in touch and in tune with people who are doing that on a full-time, full-scale basis.
I'm married to a lady that understands the commitments of things, not only in sports, but in business and school and that. And I think that her being in sport and her determination and where she got in her sport helps her to see why I do what I do.
It's important just to be who we are, but be able to be together. And that takes a lot of careful schedule planning and things like that, because you can't spend all your time together, otherwise you'd never be an individual. So it takes a lot of work, but that's what we strive for.
Doug retired from the U.S. team briefly after the '84 Olympics, and his business interests are strong enough that the question of a longer retirement may be coming up again soon. We'll keep an eye on Doug and see what his future plans are.
We have a great weekend coming up for you on our coverage of the Goodwill Games. And the action begins tomorrow. We'll have 6 hours of coverage during the afternoon, beginning at noon Eastern Time. First of all, women's volleyball, the championship game. Yachting begins in Tallinn. We will continue with boxing. Women's platform diving also continues. It'll be the 10-meter platform event, followed by wrestling, and tennis begins in Jurmala, Latvia. And then on Sunday, basketball goes back into action. The United States men's team will be up against Argentina in second round action of the World Championships of basketball, coming to you from Spain. Water polo continues along with wrestling. Boxing will continue, and gymnastics begins. We have fantastic gymnastics performances headed your way, and team handball. So we have an action-packed weekend for you. In just a moment, we're going to show you a sport you may never have seen or even heard of, but you're going to shortly. Stay with us.
Wardrobe for the talent of the Goodwill Games has been provided by the John White's companies.
The sport you may not have heard of or seen before is called Motorball. And yes, it is one of the sports we'll be covering in the Goodwill Games. Motorball is a combination of, trust me on this, of soccer and motocross. Well, sort of. Well, let's take a look at it. Maybe you'll get a better understanding of what it's all about. Motorball combines the speed of motocross racing and adds a touch of soccer, the world's most popular sport. It comes up with a considerable amount of skill, and it always provides a lot of action. Of course, that last goal But you saw it doesn't count because you can't ride or slide the motorcycle into the goal area. In fact, if you do ride or slide the motorcycle into the goal area, like it was right there, the goalie's in danger, and there's a penalty kick, which I don't know if that satisfies the goalie's hurt feelings or not. Incidentally, the ball weighs about 33 pounds, and you can see how big around it is, almost the size of a motorcycle wheel. There you go. He slides into the mouth of the goal. So we're going to have coverage of that, and Skip Carey will be on hand for it at the Motorball venue. I might mention, by the way, that Motorball began in the Soviet Union, is a very large sport in the Soviet Union and in many parts of Northern Europe. We're going back to, it was wet there, but it's going to be even wetter where we're going. A very much tougher match than we anticipated in water polo.
Yes, indeed. We're going to pick up the action now in the third period. This is the USA versus Hungary, continuing at Lenin Central Stadium. Here's Craig Sager and Jennifer Chandler with the action in the third period.
3 minutes, 17 seconds remaining in the third period here in this water polo competition between Hungary and the United States. The score stands Hungary 4, USA 3. Those goals for the United States coming on the power play opportunities given to them by the more aggressive Hungarian squad. Hungary in white, United States in blue. Shot taken, and it goes over the head of Craig Wilson, the American goalie.
That's Doci at 2 meters for the Hungarians. He's their spark plug off the bench, John, and he looks like he's fulfilling that role again this game.
3 out of 4 of the goals for Hungary have come on somewhat surprises. A penalty shot that was good. The 2 shots from the American goalie was out of position. So these two teams playing pretty well even up. He's Doci for Hungary in the hole. Outside shot comes, it's blocked, bouncing good.
That's Istvan Kish.
Their outside shooter, Istvan Kish, looking very strong for his second goal here in this game.
That's right, his defense got drawn off to the side. He had a nice opportunity from about 6 meters out, and Craig Wilson just couldn't get there in time.
So the score, 5-3, Hungary leading. America undefeated so far in this tournament, needing this victory to have a chance at the gold medals at the end of this round-robin competition. The United States somewhat surprised by some good outside shots from the Hungarian team.
I think more than anything, they're just not putting the ball on the cage, John. They're getting their opportunities. I think the Hungarians should have about 5 goals by now in any normal game, but the U.S. should have scored well more than 3.
Hungary self-professed to be in a rebuilding year, with the younger squad showing a lot of experience here. Shot taken, and it's wide. Charlie Harris, 23-year-old graduate of USC.
Well, there's another bad bounce there, John. It looked like the goalie was very clearly tipped that ball out of bounds. The referees gave it back to the Hungarians. Nothing's going right for the U.S. here.
The United States down 5-3. The wind blowing left to right across the screen.
No! Short pass picked off.
Ball stolen by number 12, Charlie Harris. He gets it back. The officials for today's game, 2 neutral countries, Turkey and West Germany. Mikskat Gantal from Turkey and Jürgen Blahn from West Germany are the officials.
Nice
ball,
nice.
lobbed up, and it bounces across the crossbar. Mike Evans not able to put that one in.
That's a very pretty pass. Tremendous pass from Jeff Campbell over to Evans, and it just went off the top bar and down. It's a game of inches, John, and we're on the short end of all of them this game.
So another opportunity missed.
Shot from Schmidt, swallowed up.
That was with 2 seconds on the shot clock. The ball picked up by Craig Wilson. Long pass down to Robertson. Robertson looking for the American driver. It's going to be number 5, Doug Burke. Doug Burke alone in front of the cage. Rims back, shoots, and it's blocked again by Peter Tuna. So the Americans not able to convert opportunities here in this third period. 45 seconds remaining on the clock for the third quarter.
Let's not take anything away from the play of Peter Kuhner. He has played a tremendous game. He had been one of their strong players in the past couple of games, but he's really come on this time.
So the United States now down 5-3 to the team from Hungary. Very aggressive defense in the 2-meter position by Campbell.
Backhand.
Backhand goes wide of the cage. America has the ball. And 21 seconds to do something with it.
The U.S. scores here. They've got a real good chance to win the game. If they're down by 2 going into the 4th quarter, it's going to be a lot tougher for them, John.
Doug Burke with the ball. Sees open Robertson.
And number 4 is kicked out. Kevin Roberts had inside water. And that was Petavari who got ejected for 45 seconds. Let's see if they can capitalize.
And the shot is good. Doug Burke, outside shooter. The man-up opportunity converts it into a goal. So the score now stands. Hungary 5, United States of America 4.
Boy, that was a lifesaver there, John. Being 1 down going into the last period is going to be a lot easier for them to score a couple, hold the Hungarians scoreless, and emerge with a win. They need the 2 points out of this game to win this tournament.
So a desperation shot with ticking 2 seconds here on the clock in the 3rd quarter. As the buzzer sounds, the United States coming back strong. They still are 1 point behind. Hungary 5, USA 4. We're back with more action in the water polo competition between the United States and the team from Hungary. Hungary with a 1-point advantage now, 5 minutes remaining in this game, scoring remarkably well early with surprise shots and goals. The United States unable to capitalize early in the game, just did so now with a man-up opportunity. And a steal right there. United States has the ball. They're in the blue color. Team from Hungary in white. Hungary tied West Germany earlier in the tournament. The United States undefeated coming into this competition.
That was good ball side defense by the U.S., but more importantly, coming out of that counterattack, John, there was a lot of white water. They were really blasting out of there.
The Americans beginning to realize the urgency with which they must play this final 5 minutes of the game. Luchwar passing the ball and stolen away. That was Mike Evans with ball and goal in front of him. Had the ball stolen away. Hungarian goalie Peter Kuna doing remarkably well this tournament. "35-second shot clock now ticking down to 17 seconds. Hungarians taking advantage of lazy time.
Jody Campbell playing defense there. He drew that offensive foul on Dodgy at 2 meters. The U.S. gets another chance at it.
The Americans known for their speed with which they set up their offense, being ineffective in this game. Hungarians predominantly a young building team, looking very strong. A nice lob pass, foul drawn. Schroeder taking the brush.
Jody
in the
Campbell.
Outside shot by Jody Campbell goes in the upper corner. And the score is now tied for a very grueling competition, 6-6. United States and Hungary.
Here you see it on the replay. A nice lazy shoulder fake for Jody. Puts it up in the top corner. Look at his reaction after this. He shakes his fist and says, yeah, finally. Now we're finally putting the ball in the cage.
So the United States coming now within 6-6 tie. This is a big game for us, Chris Dorst. The United States cannot afford to lose one.
Absolutely. If they expect to win this tournament, they've got to win everything up until the final game against the Soviet Union on Sunday night.
You can expect a lot of white water coming up. We have 3 minutes and 53 seconds remaining to play.
The next 2 or 3 defensive series for the U.S. are going to be extremely crucial. If Hungary can't score here, they'll have a chance to go ahead and hopefully put the game away.
Hungary as a nation has won 6 Olympic gold medals. Now all alone, Hungarian's going to rear back and shoot right through. Craig Wilson.
I don't think the referees were really willing to call too much that time, but Jody Campbell was underwater for about 10 seconds there.
That looked like Imre Toth, number 6 for Hungary, surrounded by Americans, and gets the shot off nonetheless. The score now 7-6. United States receiving a lot of pressure here. Toth will come out and be substituted for. Substitutions only occurring at scores or at quarters. 3:38 remaining to play. So the American offense has to set up quickly and score within 35 seconds.
And I think it's going to come down to Craig Wilson having to make a couple of big saves, John. Nice ejection there. U.S. is starting to drive a lot more. Number 10, Istvan Kish is out for the game. That's his third major foul.
Istvan Kish, a major player for the team, already scored twice against the Americans, is now out after his third major foul. For the Americans in their man-up advantage, they've converted well on these in the past. They converted 3 out of 5. Terry Schroeder all alone turns it around and puts it away.
That's good 6-on-5 play, John. That's tremendous passing. Very crisp. They faking the goalie, making the defense move.
Terry Schroeder, the 26-year-old team captain, most valuable player in many international tournaments.
Watch this. He gets fouled a little bit, just turns around and slams it. He's got a guy on his shoulder and still able to turn around and put the ball away.
The United States now to a 7-7 tie. They've got 3 minutes remaining to play. That's his first goal for the tournament, for the game.
Well, the U.S. has got to hold Hungary here to no goals and counter like crazy to the other end. Transition game is going to be vitally important for him.
Setavari with the ball for Hungary. He's done well for them.
And look, John, they're setting with Kevin Robertson in at 2 meters.
And an ejection.
And Kevin's thrown out that time. The Hungarians took the smallest guy in the pool down to 2 meters and tried to hammer him.
That's the second ejection for Kevin Robertson. The Hungarians have scored 1 out of the last 2 times they've had the man-up advantage.
U.S. has got to hold him here, John.
So a very important defensive set now. The score 7-7 tie, United States in blue.
That is good U.S. defense. They're moving around. They're not letting the Hungarians get set up at all.
Shot taken, it's wide.
No, it was knocked by Schroeder on the way out, but the referees give it to the United States.
So the break falls in the Americans' lap. A long drive, all alone. The goalie is out.
Oh.
And the goalie steals it. And a foul is called against the Americans.
That was overpassed by about 6 inches too much. That was too bad because we could have used that goal. Hungarians still with a man advantage.
We have 2 minutes, 4 seconds remaining on the clock. Outside shot blocked by Wilson. Recovered by the Hungarians. They're going to keep control of the ball.
But the teams are at even strength now, John, so they're going to play 6-on-6.
We're playing round-robin tournament. The backhand attempted shot, no good. The foul called. You can see the Hungarian coach on the sideline, Yarmati. He has played on 3 Olympic teams. He's coached some 205 international matches.
And the referee's cautioning him to be quiet now, John. He's been yelling at him the last 3 minutes in a row. It's been some great water polo action here in the second half of the 4th quarter.
Score 7-7. The man in the hole draws the foul. And we have a foul going on in the middle there.
That's Imre Toth trying to get that backhand off.
So some very aggressive play. The score is tied 7-7. And we have
that was an offensive foul.
Blue ball offensive foul.
He was trying to draw the foul so that the shot clock would stop. The U.S. had worked it down to 5 seconds on the Hungarians. That was tremendous defense.
1 minute, 23 seconds remaining to play. 7-7 tie. This game is vitally important for both teams. The United States undefeated so far in this tournament. 1 minute, 14 seconds on the clock. Schroeder with the ball in the hole. Tosses it out. Blocked immediately and immediately recovered by number 3, Sandor Toth, one of the more experienced members on the Hungarian team. We're now approaching the 1 minute barrier.
You know, it's interesting. James normally shoots right away. He might have had trouble holding onto that ball, and that's what gave the Hungarians a chance to get a hand up in his face.
Hungarians tied West Germany earlier in the tournament. Another ejection by the Americans.
That's Jody Campbell put out for 45 seconds. He was guarding Schmidt at 2 meters, and I think he was fouling him a little too hard, or so the referee thought.
So the Hungarians having the man-up opportunity. They've only converted 1 out of 3 of these so far in this game.
Well, it's vital the U.S. put this one away, John. Or don't let the Hungarians put it away.
34 seconds remaining in the game. The 7-7 tie right now. A score here would be detrimental to the American chances for a gold medal. Ball shot taken and good by Peter Strzelecki. That brings the score to 8-7 with 21 seconds to play. A very important 21 seconds for the American squad coming up.
If I know referees at all, John, they will give the United States a chance to get back into a tie situation with the Hungarians. They'll call an ejection. They will give them a 4-meter shot. The U.S. just has to work work as hard as they can, throw safe passes, and work for that ejection.
With 21 seconds remaining on the clock, the United States looking at a possible loss and certainly no better than a tie at this point. With 21 seconds remaining in the game, the United States down 8-7. Doug Burke, he's looking at a possible outside shot. He takes it, it's bounced out. The Americans retain possession.
That's okay, they got 11 seconds to go in the game.
Who do you go to, Chris? Ah, there's the ejection you called for. We have an ejection. Number 6, Imre Toth is going to go to the sidelines. We don't have 45 seconds. We've got 8 seconds of time to take it immediately and good. And a very disgruntled Hungarian squad. That score, Mike Evans. Oh, you from the United States, 25-year-old. He was in the right place at the right time. We have 7 seconds to play.
Well, it had to come for him. If you see here in the replay, there was nobody guarding him. He just walked into 4 meters, skipped it nicely into the near side.
So Mike Evans keeping America's gold medal chances alive. The team now tied 8-8 with 7 seconds remaining. Craig Wilson, he's going to have to keep his thinking cap on. The Americans are expecting a shot imminently.
What the team's got to do right now is just not foul. They got 7 seconds left in the game. If they don't touch anybody and the foul isn't called, there's no way the Hungarians can get a shot off within, you know, say 10 meters.
Well, the shot goes wide. The Americans now have the ball with 4 seconds remaining. And you can expect a desperation shot.
Wilson's got a great arm.
Shot taken, lob, and blocked away. So that's the end of the game. 4 periods behind us. The final score in the competition between Hungary and the United States, a tie, 8-8. Chris, can the Americans be happy with their performance?
Well, I don't think they're happy with their performance. They threw away a lot of opportunities in the first half, John. They should be happy with the tie, though. They were behind by a goal about halfway through the fourth quarter. To come back and tie them like that at least means they can put it together when they want to.
So the United States holding on to an undefeated record coming into the final couple of days of competition here at the Goodwill Games. They were down the entire way. They were down 2 goals at the first half. They were down 1 goal with 21 seconds remaining, and they got the score to bring the score to an even 8-8 tie. The United States going to try to win the gold medal against the Soviet Union on the final day of competition here in Moscow.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that. The United States with a much tougher match than anticipated. Of course, if the U.S. wins both of their final games, including that match against the Soviet Union on Sunday, they still are in the running for a gold medal. It is a round-robin tournament. We're going to tell you about what's coming up this weekend. We have a whole lot of activity. Women's volleyball, yachting. Ted Turner will be commenting on the yachting. We'll continue with our coverage of boxing. Wrestling will come your way on Saturday. Women's diving, the 10-meter platform performances begin. And tennis, a couple of young people for the United States to look for would include Luke Jensen, a very good player for the men, and Caroline Kuhlman, they say the hottest women's collegiate tennis player last year. And that's coming up on Saturday. And we'll be right back right after this. And it's time for our debut of wrestling coverage of the 1986 Goodwill Games. Wrestling is being held at the Druzhba Multi-Purpose Gym. Druzhba is located, as you follow the arrow, on the southwest side of Moscow. Druzhba is in the Central Lenin Stadium complex. It was first used in the Spartakiad in '79 when the Soviets were going through sort of a test run for the Olympics of '80. During the '80 Olympics, Druzhba was the site of volleyball tournament. Right now, though, we're going to debut wrestling USA versus Bulgaria. Our commentator is Russ Hellickson, 1976 Olympic silver medalist. Let's go.
Today we begin first round action of the freestyle wrestling competition. This facility, built for the 1980 Olympics, is part of the 445-acre Lenin Sports Complex, located on the banks of the Moscow River.
Hello, everyone. The direct translation of Druzhba into English is friendship. And this hall was indeed friendly to the USA women's basketball team, who just yesterday defeated the Soviet Union right here for the gold medal. Whether this hall will be as friendly to the USA wrestlers, well, that remains to be seen. Defeating the Soviet Union in wrestling has never been easy. The USA has done it a couple of times before, and I think the combination is right for the USA team to put together a victory right here in the Soviet Union. Coach Dan Gable, recognized as one of the winningest coaches and athletes ever in the United States, thinks that his team is ready. The team is made up of 9 of the 10 national freestyle champions for the United States. Frankly, I don't think the team could be much better. Although there are 4 other teams represented here, I think the championship match on Sunday evening will come down to the wire between the United States and the Soviet Union. So let's take a quick look at the matchups for today.
The USA will be paired first with Bulgaria, to be followed by a dual meet between the Soviet Union and Mongolia. The 6 teams competing in the Goodwill Games are divided into 2 pools, as you see before you, an A pool and a B pool. The winners of each of the pools will be paired against each other in the championships for the Sunday finals. The point scoring for freestyle wrestling bouts can be somewhat simplified, as you see before you. Most points in freestyle wrestling end up being the 1-point takedown, but as you see, the 2, 3, and the 4-point back exposure situations also occur in wrestling. A fall will occur when both shoulders are held simultaneously to the mat for 1 second. If a wrestler receives 3 cautions for illegal hold or stalling, he will be disqualified. Every match has 3 officials calling the points. 2 of the 3 must agree for any points to go on the scoreboard. At this point, the Bulgarian team is leading the United States 3-1 at 105.5 pounds. Miriam Avlarov of Bulgaria beat Rich Salamoni of the United States. At 114.5 pounds, Ivan Sonov beat Adam Cuestas 4-2. At 125.5 pounds, Stefan Ivanov beat Kevin Darkus of the United States 4-2. And at 136.5 pounds, John Smith gets the first victory for the United States, beating Alban Kumbarov of Bulgaria on a criteria decision. You're looking at wrestling here at 149.5 pounds, 68 kilograms. Wrestling for the United States in the red singlet is Andrei Metzger, and in the blue singlet, Angel Surakov of Bulgaria. The United States trailing in the dual meet here, the first one of the Goodwill Games, 3-1. John Smith of the United States winning the first match for the United States in the last weight class on a 5-5 tie-breaking criteria. Bulgaria, a relatively young team, not expected to be ahead of the United States at this point, but performing very well with some of their young wrestlers. This is a very important match here for the United States. Andrei Metzger expected to win this one, I would think, to dominate the match, and important to get the momentum back for the United States. Score right now 0-0, neither wrestler being too aggressive. Official calling for a caution against Andrei Metzger. He gets confirmation. 3 cautions and you are disqualified. That is Andrei Metzger's first. Surakov of Bulgaria elects to put Metzger down on the mat, which is his prerogative when a caution is called. Reaches back to try to hook that leg. Metzger grabs the free leg of Surakov, blocks off the action. Again, if Surakov does not work a turn very quickly here, the officials will bring them back to their feet. Well, Metzger getting himself in a little trouble here trying to counter the action, but he did not turn his back to the mat. No points are awarded. Score still 0-0. Lots of scrambling here, but no points being scored at this juncture. We may have a stalemate position here very shortly. The officials will bring them back up. A lot of squirming around, but no points being scored. 1 minute remaining in this first period. There's the call. Surakov of Bulgaria ends up on top where he started. No points awarded. Score still 0-0. You're looking at wrestling action here at 149.5 pounds. Andrei Metzger of the United States versus Angel Surakov of Bulgaria. 45 seconds remaining in the first period of this 5th match in the dual meet between the United States and Bulgaria. The United States trailing 3-1 in the competition. A nice front headlock turn by Andrei Metzger of the United States. He takes Surakov of Bulgaria to his back. He receives 3 points for that action, and now is ahead in this first period 3-0. A very nice move. Metzger has a reputation for some pretty exciting technique, and they're using a a little bit of it against a very good wrestler from Bulgaria. Metzger doing a little bit of chasing here, almost too much. Almost got himself in trouble here trying to drive Surikov off the mat. Wrestlers brought back up to their feet in the center of the mat. It's a very important match for the United States. They're behind 3-1. From a motivation standpoint, to keep the momentum going in their favor, they need to have a win here by Andre Metzger of the United States. And so at the end of the first period, as time runs out, Andre Metzger of the United States leading 3-0. We'll be back with more wrestling. Style wrestling in Druzhba Sports Arena in the fifth matchup in the first dual meet between the United States and Bulgaria. Andre Metzger of the United States in the red singlet versus Angel Surikov of Bulgaria in the blue singlet. The United States at this point is behind in the dual meet competition, 3-1. Andre Metzger is ahead in the beginning of the second period, 3-0. Match is only 3 minutes long, 6 minute longs, 2 periods of 3 minutes each. The United States needs the momentum here of a big win. They expected to dominate in this first matchup against the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians are a very young team. Surikov in on a single leg. Does not get any points until he controls Metzger. Metzger scrambles out of the position. No points being awarded here. Official very shortly, there it is, blows his whistle, stops the action. Nothing happening will bring them back to their feet. Andre Metzger of the United States probably wrestled more matches than anybody in the United States, approaching approximately 2,000 matches in his wrestling career, both in high school, college, and international wrestling. He's relatively experienced in the international styles, has competed a number of times in the World Championships. Here in on a single leg, trying to convert. Must take his knees down to the mat. No points for this position. He drives Surikov off. They're giving him the point. They're saying that Surikov of Bulgaria was fleeing the mat. They give 1 point to Metzger of the United States. He now leads 4-0. Just over a minute remaining in the second period of this match. This will be an important win for the United States. Bring them back even farther into the dual meet. They should be ahead at this point, but haven't wrestled particularly well in this first dual meet. Surikov doing the shooting here. Metzger in on a nice single leg shot. Converts back out, scores. Well, he doesn't get the point yet. He's not in total control here. He should get the point. Yes, he does. 1 point for the takedown and a gut wrench as they go off the mat. The referee saying that he went off the mat, his head touched, and then he went off. So he should not receive any points for that action. Score still 5-0 in favor of Andre Metzger of the United States. 20 seconds remaining in this second and final period. 149.5 pounds. USA versus Bulgaria, the first dual meet of the Goodwill Games in freestyle wrestling. Surikov of Bulgaria attempting to pressure Metzger. He's behind, but they're calling Surikov for his second caution. Only 5 seconds remaining in the match. Metzger will attempt to use his gut wrench here to pick up some more points. Well, too little time left. Andre content to take his 5-0 victory over Angel Surikov of Bulgaria. The United States now leading in this dual meet 3-2. John Smith of the United States winning at 136.5, and Andre Metzger winning here at 149.5. United States on its way back in this competition, now behind 3-2.
1986 coverage continues later on this evening. On our late night broadcast, we'll be giving you action from women's volleyball, Japan versus Peru, a match you don't want to miss. Also, more boxing action and the final day of cycling and the activities there. Let's go back now to more wrestling with Russ Hellickson.
Action continues. 5 matches have taken place, and Bulgaria leads the USA 3 matches to 2. The next match will be world and Olympic champion Dave Schultz going against junior world champion Rakhmat Sofiatyadi of Bulgaria. There you see USA coach Dan Gable, who prepared this team for the Goodwill Games competition. At 37, he still sets the standards for American wrestling with his gold medal performance at the 1972 Olympics. Dan brings his special breed of intensity to a new generation of American wrestlers. A private man, Dan enjoys life at home with his wife and 3 daughters. Let's meet him in our Goodwill profile.
Wrestling's kind of a strenuous situation, whether you're thinking it or doing it. And I need an outlet. And I do some fishing, things like that. But probably my biggest outlet is my family. They give me a way to relax. Well, to be honest with you, I'd rather have them stay little all the time. I dread the thought of them, my dad, you know. But I know that'll happen, and I can look at it realistically. But one of the things that I told myself is that I'm not going to, all of a sudden, when they're saying bye, Dad, I'm not going to say, where have all the years gone by without me having spent time with them. You need the motivation within and from without, and you need certain things to bring the best out of yourself as well as what you need to accomplish. And I know that when I'm around the atmosphere of the office, I don't have to worry about the atmosphere of my home because I know it's taken care of. They probably give me what I need to be able to refresh my mind to go back in wrestling. I expected myself to win. I knew I was good, and based on how I practiced and how I did in competitions. And it was like when I won, it was very simple for me to accept the win and leave, just in the same gesture. But now, when I'm dealing with people that are without my control, by that I'm saying that because they're different people, I can't really control my emotions. He doesn't have one good shot. You had 6 shots in that match, and you quit. As soon as you got it, you stopped. Every time, as soon as you got it, then you stop and stem it. You should have went for it. I don't care if you lose it. Go for it. That's the only way you're going to win. You got to be aggressive. I want potential. If there's 100% potential in a person, I want to strive for perfection. That doesn't mean you're going to reach it. In fact, my philosophy says we can't reach 100% potential. The only problem is that you're so much better than him on the feet. So much. You just didn't have any confidence tonight. Confidence is what you live by. You respected him too much. You know, it's almost like some of them are my own, you know, and because of that fact, it's a meaningful situation, not only to them, but also to me. And I don't think I'll ever stop getting a kick out of young people because there's such a challenge in young people. I think that's one of the key things that I've been able to do better than most coaches, being able to get to the kid and to be able to get that much more potential out of him than the other coach could get out of him.
You're looking at the wrestlers in 163-pound weight class in the first dual meet matchup here in the Goodwill Games in freestyle wrestling. Dave Schultz of the United States in the red singlet. Rakhmat Sofiatyadi of Bulgaria in the blue singlet. The United States losing in this first dual meet 3-2. They won in the 136.5-pound weight class where John Smith defeated his opponent and where Andre Metzger won at 149.5 pounds. Dave Schultz, the United States, is a world champion, looked at as one of our most competitive and most successful international wrestlers. Here's his wife Nancy and little baby Alexander watching the competition. 3 months old, but Dave decided to bring them to the Soviet Union to watch him in action in the Goodwill Games. The score right now, 1-1. 35 seconds remaining in the first period. There are 2 periods in every freestyle match. They're each 3 minutes long. They get a minute break in between. Dave Schultz down on the bottom. Here he was cautioned for stalling. His opponent has a choice of staying on the feet, putting him on the mat. He put him down. He's trying to convert for some back points. but unable to do so on a pretty experienced David Schultz. Well, the referee should be stopping this. Now, there it is. Brings them back up to their feet. Only 4 seconds remaining in the first period. Tie match right now between Schultz of the USA and Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. And their time runs down. United States behind 3-2 in the dual meet matchups. David Schultz, the United States, tied 1-1 at the end of the first period, and we'll be back for period 2. Druzhba Sports Arena for freestyle wrestling. The action here again at 163 pounds, second period for Dave Schultz of the United States and Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. Score currently tied 1-1. Sofadiadi in on a leg, but Schultz trying to use some of his technique. Reaches back for the ankle to prevent the takedown, but the referee calling, but he has no confirmation at this point. 2 of the 3 officials must agree. A nice scramble. He squirms out behind, and he comes up with a 1-point takedown. They did give 1 point to Sofadiadi of Bulgaria, so the score again is tied, but now 2-2. There he has. Schultz has his leg lace. There he takes it. He should get 1 point. 1 point. He turned Sofadiadi across his back. His back did not touch. His head did not touch, but he received 1 point because his back did face the mat. Stalemate position. David Schultz of the United States ahead right now 3-2 over Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. You're looking at David Schultz in the red singlet here of the United States versus Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. It's the second period action. David Schultz of the United States is leading 3-2 with just over a minute remaining in this match at 163 pounds. David Schultz is a world champion. He's been very successful in international competition, has a tremendous reputation in the international wrestling circles, but has a relatively close match here with a young Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. There, the referee calling for a caution against David Schultz of the United States. Gets confirmation from the mat chairman. That is his second caution. That is the second caution against David Schultz of the United States. If you get 3 cautions, you are disqualified. Sofadiadi in on a leg. David Schultz trying to come around here to convert on a counter move. Schultz not looking in great shape at this point. Maybe a little to do with the adjustment to the time change coming from the United States. Sofadiadi comes around and gets the 1 point for the takedown. 3-3. And there he should have a 2-point tilt. No, the officials did not have the angle, or they did have the angle and didn't feel it was quite close enough. Tie match right now between David Schultz of the USA and Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria. A surprisingly close match for the United States. David Schultz is a world champion. Rakhmat Sofadiadi has not had that much experience, making a very, very good account of himself. David Schultz very, very tired. You're looking at David Schultz, United States, in the red singlet here against Rakhmat Sofadiadi of Bulgaria in the blue singlet. The action here at 163 pounds. The match right now is tied 3-3, but Sofadiadi of Bulgaria scored last. There's a point for the takedown by Dave Schultz to put him ahead 4-3. 8 seconds remaining in the period. That was a very important point for David Schultz of the United States. He's been looking sluggish in this match. Oh my, Sofadiadi comes in, he almost converts the whizzes there. Time runs out. No point. No point. No point. They did not give, Sofadiadi thinks he has won, but they did not give him a point. They gave the point only to David Schultz for the takedown. The score ends up 4-3. David Schultz of the United States is the winner. That's the third victory for the United States. They are now tied in this dual meet 3-3.
have the final results of the U.S.-Bulgarian wrestling match for you shortly. But first of all, we want to look back at the week. It has now been 1 week since the Goodwill flame was lit at Lenin Stadium. It was an opening ceremony that was marked by stunning flag tricks and a display of folk pageantry that let the world know that the Goodwill Games from Moscow had indeed arrived. As we look back over the week that was, it's like leafing through a dairy of athletic achievement. And we're going to come back and do that in just a moment. But right now, let's take a brief time out. More than 100,000 at Lenin Stadium last Saturday in Moscow, and the lighting of the Goodwill flame. Spectacular dancing and a spectacular show that began the historic week, and looking back over that week is like leafing through a dairy of athletic achievement. Day one, and the first gold medal of the games, 19-year-old Angel Myers won it, setting a new American record. She would win 4 more medals, pushing the so-called killer bees to world-class performances. Soviet Vladimir Salnikov, the dawn of distance swimming, broke his own world record in the men's 800 meters. Salnikov, a cool veteran. On day 2, the women's basketball tournament got underway almost from the beginning. It seemed that the U.S. and Soviet teams would meet, and indeed they would later in the week. We also began coverage of the Men's World Basketball Championships from Spain with the largest field ever assembled. 24 teams started with hopes of a title. Then the women's marathon wound through Moscow, and when it was over, a 37-year-old Soviet housewife, Nadezhda Gumarova, emerged to win the gold in 2:33:35. Day 3, we introduced coverage of modern pentathlon, a 5-phase sport designed to determine the world's most diversely talented athlete. From the start, the Soviets proved to be unbeatable. We watched Tom Petrano, whose fling at the javelin won the gold and silenced those who had labeled him a choker after his 10th place finish at Los Angeles in 1984. And on that muggy day, we thrilled to the durability of the Ethiopian marathoner, Belaine Densimo, a 28-year-old policeman who won the gold. Day 4 brought us first-time competition in women's volleyball. There were strong teams from North Korea, Peru, Japan, the United States, and the Soviet Union. And the tournament promised excitement and delivered from the start. On this last day of competition in swimming, we held our breath as U.S. swimmer Sean Killian outtouched the formidable Salnikov to take the gold, a great upset in the men's 400 meters. And finally, Jackie Joyner completed 2 days of heptathlon competition to score a new world record and break through the 7,000-point barrier, finishing her 7 events with 7,148 points. Day 5 of the Goodwill Games introduced us to the Olympic velodrome and 4 new world records in cycling. Though cycling world records are mostly made to be broken, there was a strong field on hand, including American Mark Gorski and East German Mikhail Hubner. But the great moment of the day occurred when the peerless Soviet pole vaulter Sergei Bubka bettered his own world mark by 1/2 inch. And though he said later that he appeared to clear the bar by a margin good enough to have made it to 20 feet, another athlete pushing back the barrier in his sport. Day 6 saw the beginning at the Goodwill Games of the water polo tournament and the raising of U.S. hopes for a team that has stuck together through the 1980 Olympics boycott and looked forward to Eastern Bloc competition for 6 years. At the track, Edwin Moses came back after almost 2 years of injury simply to adjust the crown that has set so easily on his head for nearly 10 years, proving that indeed the mountain still comes to Moses. Doug Nordquist of the U.S. made the best jump of his life to win the gold at Lenin Stadium amidst a very strong field. And we saw the confirmation of a speedster from Canada. Ben Johnson registered a 9:95 in the 100 meters, the fastest non-altitude time ever recorded. Carl Lewis finished a distant 3rd. And on day 7, there was competition in the women's 3-meter springboard as divers from China, East Germany, and America were in the hunt for the gold. But the big news of the day was reserved for U.S. basketball teams. The men blew past Italy 86-64 to go 4-0 on their first round of competition in Spain. And for the women, it was all sweetness and light. They came up against a Soviet team that many thought would defeat them, but the U.S. women won at 83-60 and turned what could have been a disappointment into a romp. Just to see them on the medal stand at the end of the first week of coverage was both a confirmation of the strength of the U.S. performance thus far and also a strong indication that the Goodwill Games competition would continue to be multinational and unpredictable in the days to come.
We have got activity coming up for you as our coverage this night continues here from Moscow. Coming up later on, we will be bringing you women's volleyball action, that game Japan versus Peru. Also, action from today's first competition in the field of, rather the last day of competition in the field of cycling. We will have also more boxing and a special guest late night here on TBS coverage of the Goodwill Games. Peggy Fleming is going to be joining us here in our broadcast studios. We want you to also look forward to our coverage coming up on Saturday. We'll have women's volleyball, a gold medal game for you. We'll begin yachting competition from Tallinn. That's about 500 miles northwest of Moscow. And we will have more boxing for you. Also on Sunday, boxing continues and gymnastics as well. Team competition, we'll have the finals in that for you. Team handball begins in round-robin competition. And as we said, there's just a jam-packed weekend coming up as we continue our coverage of the Goodwill Games, and we hope you stay with us.
I have some more information right now. As you know, the United States and Bulgarian wrestling match was a very close one. It never got anything but close. It ended in a 5-5 tie, and that will put the U.S. men's wrestling team in a real bind because the Soviet Union today defeated Mongolia by a score of 10-0. As we continue with our wrestling coverage, we'll keep a close eye on the Soviet Union, and the U.S. men's team dug themselves just a little bit of a hole. We've really had an enjoyable week bringing you the 1986 Goodwill Games. There were a lot of folks who thought a year or so ago that the games would never happen, and they have indeed been an interesting adventure for all of us. It began with the federations getting the athletes together, cooperation between business and government in America and in the Soviet Union. We've been in Moscow now, some of us for several months and weeks getting ready for the preparation. We're not quite halfway through with the games, and we have some wonderful competition on your way. Already world records have fallen, already surprises from all the country. It has been a real enjoyable experience to bring it to you so far, and we're not finished yet. We'll see you shortly on our late night show. So long, everybody.